Hey everybody, what's going on? I know it's been a while. Hope everyone's doing well. But you are looking at my Behringer PB1000 pedal board. I finally got everything all set up and kind of ready to go. And I've been putzing around with it a little bit here and there. I gotta say, for a plastic case, kind of like either a gun case or like a camera case type of deal, this is kind of nice. It's not bad. It's pretty sturdy, pretty strong. I wouldn't throw it, but it probably would hold up pretty good if it was tossed around a little bit. So I want to go over a little bit of how I have this thing all hooked up on a pedal board, and going to ask for you guys' help with a little bit of input of a few other things, and I'll get to that in a little bit. So right now I'm looking at the effects, two effects. So basically, this plug here starts to chain right at the tuner, and then you have your input for your guitar, and on this side you have your output going to your amplifier, then you have your power supply, then you have your input from the effects chain. You can also attach another one on this side and run two outputs to where it's like, if you have two heads or two cabs or whatever with two heads on it, you can sit there and run like a stereo effect. And then you have your power supply going through to the chain. Now, what I got going on over here is not necessarily a problem, but just more of an input from you guys, because I'm not too sure of how to set this up. I've got everything pretty much like all the pedals that I may be using more of is right here. The stuff that I may not be using a lot of is at the top. Now, right here is where everything starts. This Chromatic tuner, which is a real nice tuner from Behringer. It works pretty good. Price is right on it. And like I said, if I end up not using these, this is basically all these pedals were like $25 a piece, exception of this one. So the maximum I spent on these pedals was like 25 bucks. The minimum was probably somewhere where like 19 bucks, but they work pretty good. So I have the Chromatic tuner, then I go into the Ultra Metal overdrive, then I go into a vintage tube overdrive, then just a basic overdrive, compression sustainer, digital reverb. Then from the digital reverb, I go all the way up to this corner here where the equalizer is set up, vintage delay, ultra chorus, noise reduction, and then the loop core, which this one here was more expensive than all of these guys. It does a lot. It's pretty cool. And as soon as I start getting everything figured out and start playing around with it, I'll show you how this thing is kind of nice. You can overlap a bunch of different sounds over each other to make a song, basically. Bass guitar, regular guitar, whatever. And it also has somewhat of a rhythm section inside of it to where it's got like a drum, different types of drum beats in it. So basically what I need your guys' help with is how I have this set up. Is there anything that you would swap out? Like, would you change up any of these guys, move them around or whatever? I'm not too sure if I have this thing set up the way it's supposed to be set. Now, I know with certain pedals, depending on what part of the chain they are, they do sound different. And, I kind of have everything going into the compressor first. And I've also seen where the compressor was actually first on some pedal boards. But me, I kind of like the metal thing. That's why I have 3 different overdrives here, and probably the ultra metal is what I'll be using the most of. But if I want to get into anything a little bit more lighter or some vintage rock or something like that, I got the 2 to do that as well. The equalizer is kind of a little bit of a overkill. I probably didn't really need it, but it could come in handy for different things. Now, a lot of these pedals work with bass guitar and keyboards, exception of the ultra metal, and I believe the NUX overdrive. That one doesn't work with keyboards or bass guitar, but everything else does. And which is kind of nice because I fiddle around with a bass every once in a while. So other than using the ultra metal, I can give it a little bit of a vintage tube drive to it or something, and see how that sounds. So I appreciate you guys' help, and basically, like I asked, is what order would you put these guys in, starting with the tuner and then going all the way back to the loop core? Once I figure everything out and get everything situated as far as how this is set up and what it's supposed to be set, learn a little bit about the controls of each pedal, and start fooling around with it a little bit with the guitar. Like I do have my Ibanez sitting over here, and I've been fooling around with it a little bit, not that much. You know, I guess this area here is where it's, you would put like a wah pedal or something. And I'm really not into that right now. Maybe later on. Out of the 12 slots for the pedals, I still have one open over here. So, anyways, thanks for your help. Thanks for your input. Comment at the bottom if you see or that something is not in the chain the way it's supposed to be. And I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching. Everyone take it easy.